Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. My brothers and sisters, we finally come to the end, the last of the series 7 Keys to Success. I hope you will find this meaningful and that you will translate this into action in your life, which will give you some phenomenal results, inshallah. The last and final of the keys, which is a summary of everything, and that is maximize TRP. You know what TRP ratings are, right? Which is the television rating, which decides how popular a particular program is, meaning how much revenue that is going to earn. And I'm using that as an acronym for what I'm about to say to you. So maximize TRP. This is the last of the 7 keys to success. I want to begin with a very beautiful quote of Imam al-Nawawi rahmatullah alayhi, which is in the Muqaddimah, which is in the introduction of his book Ar-Riyadu Salihin, where he says he defines niyyah, he defines intention. He says al-idharu niyyah في كل أقوال وفي كل أعمال وفي كل أحوال البارزة والخفي. He says the izhar, the expression, the awareness of the niyyah, of the intention, في كل أقوال, in everything that we say, في كل أعمال, in everything we do, وفي كل أحوال, in all conditions that we find ourselves in, al-barizatu wal-khafi, whether it is visible or whether it is hidden. Now I want you to just reflect on this beautiful saying for a few minutes and ask yourself one single question, and that question is that somebody who lives his life with that level of awareness, that he or she is aware, very clearly aware of why they are saying something, why they are doing something, why they are feeling a particular way in a particular situation. Imagine what kind of a self-aware, what kind of a powerful, confident person are we talking about at that point. Somebody like that who is conscious of why they are saying or doing something and why they are feeling a particular way in a particular situation. Just think about it from the angle of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you think that kind of person will be capable of committing any sin at all? Because before speaking, they will ask themselves, why am I saying this? There's a beautiful quote of, among the many, many beautiful quotes of Hassan Basri rahmatullah alayhi. He said, a wise person is the one whose heart, whose tongue is behind his heart. Meaning that first the heart thinks, reflects, and then decides whether the tongue should say anything at all or not. And he said the foolish person is the one whose tongue is ahead of the heart. The tongue just says whatever it wants to say, and later on maybe the heart even regrets why this thing was said, but the damage is done. So somebody like what Imam Nawawi rahmatullah is saying is somebody like that who's wise, who's conscious of why they are, why they say or why they do anything, and why they feel in a particular way. And this level of consciousness is something that is, I think, absolutely critical to success. And in that level of consciousness, what is very important is to ask yourself, why am I doing that? Meaning, is it only to please Allah, or is it for some other reason? Al-ikhlasun niyyah, which is the sincerity of the intention, this is the core, this is the secret of doing things and of being in a way where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with us. Right? I want to say to you, my brothers and sisters, always try to focus on only one thing, which is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not anything else. Nothing else is worth focusing on except for the pleasure of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. If Allah is pleased, nothing else matters. If Allah is displeased, then nothing else matters. Both ways. Right? So please only and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, one of Hassan Basri, Hassan Basri is one of my absolute favorite people. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant me the honor of kissing his hand when I in Jannah, because that way I also make sure that I get to Jannah. Subhanallah, what an incredibly wise man. Somebody asked him, they said, you don't seem to be concerned about people's opinion about you. Right? People may like you, they dislike you, whatnot. You don't seem to be concerned about that. Now imagine, today, this is something which is killing us. Our constant focus is social media. Our constant focus is what do people think about me. Right? How many thumbs up, how many likes, how many this, how many that. Our whole life is geared to please people. And this is one of the major reasons for going astray, because you are running behind everybody else. Driving yourself ragged is one of the major causes for depression. People don't like me. Hassan Basri Rahmatullah, they asked him, he said, how is it that you don't seem to be concerned about people's opinion people's opinion of you? Hassan Basri Rahmatullah says, I was born alone. I will die alone. I will be put in my grave alone. I will be resurrected from my grave alone. On the day of judgment, I will stand alone. I will be called to account before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. He said, what do I have to do with people? What do I have to do with people? I am alone with my Rabb Jalla Jalaluhu. He is the only one who matters. What do I care? You don't like me, don't vote for me. Don't listen to me, don't come to my house, don't call me to your house. I mean, what does it matter? You are not my Razzaq, you are not my Raziq, you don't feed me, you don't clothe me, you don't cure me when I am sick. What did Ibrahim alayhi salam say? My brothers and sisters, let us think and stop selling ourselves so cheaply in life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for Himself. He didn't create us for the world. So why are you selling yourself to the world? For what? What is this world going to give you? What can this world give you? This world is full of beggars. I'm a beggar. The whole world is full of beggars. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said this. I didn't say this. Ya ayyuhan nasu antumul fuqara'u ilallah. Innahu huwal ghaniyun hamid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you are beggars. And ya ayyuhan nas, everybody, all human beings. So why do you want to become popular with beggars? Concern yourself with Allah, with the rida of Allah. Focus on the rida of Allah. Nobody else matters, nothing else matters. If Allah is pleased with you, the whole world automatically will become pleased with you. If Allah is displeased with you, it doesn't matter whether the world is pleased with you or not. There are any number of scoundrels in the world today who are very popular. And all they spread is evil. You want to be like that? I don't think so. So the awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my life, this is the key. And Allah mentioned this. Allah said, وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. He is with you wherever you are. Yeah, He is with you, meaning He knows you, He knows where you are. By His knowledge, He is with you wherever you are in real time. And وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. Allah said, and Allah sees all that you do. My brothers and sisters, let us get this awareness that Allah is seeing me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this in Surah Al-Alaq with regard to Abu Jahl. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Alam ya'lam bi anna Allah yara? Allah said, does he not know that Allah is watching? Does he not know that Allah is watching? Think about that. Yeah, I mentioned to you Imam Nawawi Rahmatullah Alayhi's definition of niyyah, and I'm mentioning now to you two ayat from the Quran, from Surah Al-Hadid, as well as from Surah Al-Alaq, which are talking about the awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our lives. That Allah is watching me. That Allah is with me. If we build this awareness, it gives us two very major benefits. The first one is it protects us, it's a shield, it's armor against sin. It protects us against all disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if I'm aware that Allah is watching, if I'm aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, how can I disobey Allah? That would be the most utterly shameless, arrogant, and utterly stupid thing to do. So obviously you would not do that. And the second big benefit is then that all fear of everything else goes away from the heart. Because if Allah is with me, who can harm me? If Allah is with me, who can harm me? No person, no COVID, no virus, no disease, no temptation, no human or non-human agency. Nobody can harm me because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me. وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. Allah said He is with you wherever you are. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. My brothers and sisters, I remind myself and you to factor Allah into the equation of our lives, because He is in it anyway. We will be judged according to whether we pleased Allah or not. That is that criterion has no exceptions. That is an unchangeable criterion. The criterion based on which our life will be valued and evaluated, and based on which we will be rewarded, or may Allah protect us from His punishment. What is that criterion? Did I please Allah? So factor Allah into the equation of your life, because He is in it anyway. Whether you like it or not, He is there. If you are not going to take Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure into account, you cannot succeed. Now, what is TRP? TRP, and I'm not talking about the TV thing. I'm talking about TRP in my context. Three things. T stands for truth, R stands for risk, and P stands for persist. Truth, risk, and persist. Two aspects to truth. Being truthful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and being truthful to the makhluk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the creatures of Allah. So huququllah and huququl ibad. Risk, again two aspects to it. The courage to take risk and the resilience to get up from every failure, to learn from failure. In persistence, two things again. One is metrics. It's not just mindless, bashing your head against a wall. No. The metrics. I'm doing something. Is it working? Not working? What needs to be changed? How will I change it? What is the cost of changing? What is the cost of not changing? And so on. Metrics. And the second one is tenacity, which is the essence of persistence. Continuing, getting up from every fall. Right? Sticking power, staying power. Let's look at each of these very quickly. In terms of truthfulness, as I said, the truth is two parts, which is truthfulness, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and truthfulness to the makhluk. In terms of truthfulness, three things I want to talk to you about. Number one is huququllah, which is to fulfill the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He should be worshipped without any partners, because He has no partners. That we should ask and seek help only from Him and not anybody else. And everything we do must be done according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us a teacher to teach us how to live in this world, so that we learn from the teacher and we teach others, so that we learn from the teacher and we change the system. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not send us into this world to adjust ourselves to a haram system. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us into this world to change that system and to make it a system which is beneficial for all creatures, all human beings, and all creatures for the earth. Today we are living in a toxic environment. We are living in an environment which is poisonous, which is destroying us and which is destroying everybody in society, which is destroying the earth itself. We talk about it, but we do nothing to change that toxicity of that system. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is why I sent you, to change that system. So the first truthfulness is to be truthful to that. Be truthful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of our ubudiyya to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. and in terms of our ittiba and ita'at of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number 2, truthfulness to ourselves, which is, I mentioned before, al-ikhlasu niyyah, sincerity of the intention, and a sense of accountability to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu. To remember constantly that I am accountable to Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call me to account. Therefore, I must make sure that I do the right thing, and if I make a mistake, I must make istighfar immediately, not wait. Number 3, fulfilling the rights of others for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These others would be people related to me, not related to me, whoever, in my environment. Al-huququl ibad. Fulfill the rights of Allah, fulfill your own rights, fulfill the rights of the people. Now, brothers and sisters, this is very, very important that we understand this, right? And one of the traps we fall into, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kunu qawwamina lillahi shuhada'a bil-qisti, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا اعْدِلُوا هُوَ أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Allah said, O you who believe, stand out firmly for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be just witnesses, and do not let the enmity and hatred of others make you avoid justice. Be just, that is nearer to piety, and fear Allah's anger. Verily, Allah is well acquainted with what you do. See the beautiful advice here, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, is showing us that one of the reasons why sometimes we reject what somebody is saying is because we don't like that person. This is what the Quraysh did with Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Many of them rejected what he said, not because people like Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab and so on, they rejected what he said not because they thought he was wrong, not because they did not like what he said, but because he was saying it. I don't like you, so I will not listen to you. No, even if you are telling me something good, I will not listen to you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that is a very stupid way of behaving, so don't behave like that. Do not reject the truth if it comes to you from somebody you don't like. Bear witness, be true, do not be unjust. And piety is justice. There is no piety in injustice. Telling lies is debilitating. Telling lies is suicide. Telling lies is like cutting yourself up. Because the cost to yourself of telling lies is far higher than whatever it was that you were trying to avoid by telling lies. By lying. The cost to yourself of telling lies is far higher than whatever it was that you were trying to avoid by lying. We come to the second one, which is risk. As I mentioned to you, again, 3 things. Firstly, courage. And that courage is expressed in terms of confidence and self-belief, and remaining focused on your goal and not getting distracted. Sometimes what happens is that you're doing something and you're doing it right, you're doing your best and you're trying to do as good as you can. And then you start wondering, what about this one? What about that one? Am I comparing here, comparing there? I'm not against benchmarking. Please understand this. I'm not against benchmarking. But what is benchmarking? Benchmarking is to compare yourself against somebody who is recognized as best in the industry, right? What we call best in class. Benchmarking is not comparing yourself to every Tom, Dick and Bihari who's passing by the roadside. So before you compare yourself, ask yourself, who am I comparing myself to and why? Benchmarking is not a question of saying, so-and-so likes, so-and-so doesn't like. Doesn't matter what people like or don't like. Benchmarking is metrics. Benchmarking is done on the basis of standards. So, by all means, benchmark yourself and benchmark yourself against the best. But if you are doing something, do that confidently, and once you are sure of what you are doing, stop self-doubting. Do not keep on doubting. Self-doubt is the most debilitating thing. It's like shooting yourself in the foot. Please don't do that to yourself. Right? Pick the right thing, do your best, by all means benchmark, and at some point in time, sorry, I'm not in the game of rethinking and redoing everything all over again. This is what we do, this is who we are, this is what we produce. Right? Be very clear in your mind. Otherwise, confidence will go and you will get distracted. Remain focused on the goal. Number 2, creativity, problem solving, scenario planning, generating alternatives, and so on and so forth. This is always part of risk taking. And it's a wonderful exercise in developing our intelligence to face different kinds of situations. So creativity and problem solving. Third thing is resilience. Now this is is something really. Resilient people are people who actually enjoy being resilient. So it's not something to worry about. It's not something to to feel, oh my God, it's so painful. No. To get up after every fall, to rise from every fall. That is success. Because seeking safety is the biggest risk. Now, I've seen this happening in my family business consulting practice, which is that it's a very strange thing because what happens is that an entrepreneur becomes hugely successful because they take risk. But once they start accumulating assets, they build a company and so on and so forth, the risk-taking ability reduces. It's strange because now, one way of thinking about it logically is that if somebody has been taking risk all his life, he should just become better and better at doing that. But it doesn't happen. The opposite happens, which is that in the initial stages they take risks, but when they get to a certain stage, they become extremely protective. They start becoming very fearful, and fear dominates. And when fear dominates, risk-taking ability takes a nosedive. And that is the reason why they fail. That's the reason why they fail. On top of that, they will not even allow their children and so on to take risk, which makes matters even worse. So even the second generation is getting cut down before it can even show something. Now, let me give you, we are talking about the issue of risk-taking. Let me give you 2 examples on the seerah, risk-taking and resilience. Right, this is what we are talking about. The first, of course, is the journey of Rasulullah to At-Taif, where he went with his Sahabi, radiallahu anhu, Zayd bin Haritha, who, just the 2 of them. Now, we know the whole story of Taif and so on and so forth, so I'm not going to repeat that. But put yourself in that position of Rasulullah. What an amazingly and a very, very painfully tough situation that must have been. Here was somebody who was the Rasul of Allah. He was the messenger of Allah. And this is not a claim that he made. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him. Allah appointed him as his Rasul. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the job of conveying the message to the people. He tried very hard in Makkah. He was not successful to the extent that, he would have wished and we would have wished. And then he went to Taif to see whether he could convince the Banu Saqif to accept Islam, to come to Islam. And we know what they did with him. May Allah protect us and protect people who want to trouble somebody only because they want to do good to you. How completely pathetic and how completely corrupt and how completely horrible that is. You want to harm somebody because they want to benefit you. But this is the story of the Anbiya, this is the story of all the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to Taif and all that happened to him, they insulted him, they beat him, they assaulted him, and he was bleeding and so on. When he finally came down to that garden of the 2 people from Quraysh, and he took refuge in that and he rested there. what is his spirit? His body is hurt, his body is bleeding, Harisa is hurt, right? Which of course hurts Rabbi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the heart. But the point is, what kind of spirit did he have at that time? Did he give up hope? Did he blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Said, Ya Allah, you are the one who made me your messenger, so how come you don't help me? See what is happening here. These people have beat me up. They beat me up. See what they've done to me. Yeah, but is he complaining? No. He's telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about his situation. There's a difference when we say complaining. We are talking about blaming and complaining. He's just saying this is the nature of the human being that he will of the abd, that he cries before his Rabb. So that he's doing. But then what does he say? He says, Ya Allah, if you are pleased with me, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. If you are pleased with me, it doesn't matter what anyone says or does. And if you are not pleased with me, then I will continue to work until you are pleased. Hatta tarda. Hatta tarda. Until you are pleased. This is the indomitable spirit of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which is something that we need to learn from. And it's an amazing example of risk-taking, because he went on his own to Taif. It's an amazing example of that risk evidently not working out because he was hurt. But it's also an amazing example, and the finest example, of resilience, of refusing to give up. He's not saying, okay, I'm done, khalas, I tried. No. I will continue to do until you are pleased. Ya Zal Jalali wal Ikram. The second wonderful example of risk-taking is the Battle of Badr. It's an absolute case study in risk-taking and in how that is to be done when you have companions and supporters. So in the question of in the issue of Battle of Badr, the original idea was to capture the caravan of Abu Sufyan, which was a trading caravan. It was not an army. It would have had a few guards, and it would have been easy pickings. And the reason for capturing the caravan of Abu Sufyan was because Abu Sufyan's caravan was full of the possessions of the people who had migrated from Makkah. The Quraysh stole their possessions, and with that money and with those stolen possessions, they went, and Abu Sufyan was trading, and he brought things back. So effectively, all of it or most of it belonged to the people who had migrated anyway. So they said, let's go take it back. Let's go and get our stuff back. And raiding was part of the culture of the time. But now when they got to Badr, just before Badr, they got news to say that Abu Sufyan actually had escaped and gone off. He'd gone by a different route to Makkah. And instead of the caravan of Abu Sufyan, they were going to face the army of the Quraysh. The caravan of Abu Sufyan, and that time he was not a Muslim, so I'm not saying Radiyallahu Anhu, but he later on became a Muslim, so Abu Sufyan Radiyallahu Anhu. The caravan of Abu Sufyan was a matter of a few guards. This was the army of the Quraysh, which had about 1,000 or 1,100 people. Soldiers, fully armed, fully resourced, come with the idea of destroying Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his companions once and for all. Finish the story. It had all the big leaders of the Quraysh in that army. So, what did the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam do? We are talking about risk-taking. He called a meeting of his people. They stopped before Badr. He called a meeting of his people, the Ansar and the Muhajirun, the people who came from Makkah and the people who were in Medina. They were all with him. And he said, he explained the situation to them. Openly, he explained everything to them. And then he said, give me your advice. So the Muhajirun, one after the other, they stood up and they said, Ya Rasulullah, we are with you and we'll fight and we'll do this. But the Ansar was silent. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam kept on asking until Sa'd bin Mu'adh radhiyallahu anhu stood up and he said, Ya Rasulullah, it looks like you want us to say something. And what we want to say to you is that we are with you. And even if you tell us, and he named a fortress which was supposed to be impregnable, and he said, even if you want us to conquer that fortress, we are with you. Now, what does it tell us? It tells us that risk-taking is not simply to go and take a leap. Risk-taking also means assessment of the risk, and then mitigating the possible negative effects of that risk. What if things go wrong? First of all, in this case, what is the assessment of the risk? We are facing an army. We are not facing a caravan with a few guards. We are not mincing any words. He's not hiding anything. He's saying it like it is, clearly. And then, what really is my resource? I have this group of people with me, but when I'm actually facing the enemy, are they still going to be with me, or will they run away? It may seem as if I have resources, it may seem as if I have support, but really is it support? And you don't want to find that out when you're facing the battle. You want that to be clear before you enter into that space, because whether to enter into that space or not is a matter of, it's a decision you will take based on the force that we have, based on the resources we have. So that's what he did. And then, we know the rest of the story. They went to the place in Badr. There they camped. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam allocated the troops and so on and so forth. And then he stood in worship, in Salah, making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Single-minded focus on the goal. And this dua he's making, and he's saying, Oh Allah, help me. Oh Allah, help me. Oh Allah, you promised to help me. And we know the whole story and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped him. We come to the third one, which is persist, perseverance. Once again, three things. Firstly, is metrics. Please understand, as I mentioned to you, perseverance is not to try to break the stone wall with your head. It's not bashing your head against a stone wall. That's bad for the head, not for the wall. Without metrics, we don't know what we are doing. In the famous words of Michael Harry, which I quote all the time, the guy who invented or designed, or whatever you want to call it, the Six Sigma quality standard, he said, if you want to see what people value, see what they measure. Measurement is absolutely critical to success. We need to do measurement for everything. We need to measure ourselves, our own performance. We need to measure what we do in terms of our work. And again, measurement, please understand this very clearly. Measurement compared to accepted standards, not likes and dislikes. Subjective likes and dislikes is the worst way of measuring anything. We need to measure compared to accepted industry standards. So, look at your project and say, what are the metrics for this project? Who are the industry leaders in this project? What I am service or goods or whatever I am producing, who are the world leaders in this? What is their standard? How do I compare to that? That kind of benchmarking is very, very beneficial. Number two, consistency. Because expertise is repeatability. Doing something right once can be accidental. Usually it is. A hole in one is a hole in one because it is accidental. In golf, right? You tee off and the ball goes straight into a hole on the second green. It's an accident. If you can do that every single time, then you go to jail, because then that means you fix the ball in some way. Huh? But jokes apart, that would be expertise. But every time I tee off, the ball goes into the hole on the next green. Very boring for everybody else, obviously. But expertise is repeatability, to be able to do the right thing every single time. And that does not come without measurement. That does not come without consistent effort every single day. The basketball player Kobe Bryant, who died now, a whole year has passed, or maybe even more. One of the most wonderful stories that I remember reading about him was, they said that two things they said. They said that we would come back from a match having won the match, and we would all go home, but Kobe would go to the gym, to the basketball court, and he would shoot those baskets that he missed. So, for example, in the match, maybe he missed 2 baskets. So he would try to recreate that situation and shoot those baskets to try to understand, why did I miss that? How did I miss that? Imagine the kind of dedication and consistency we are talking about here. People said, we won the match. We've come home, we are tired, we want to go home. But this man goes there. And it's not because he had a fight with his wife. I mean, he's one of the most dedicated family people going. Just an absolute passion for the skill, for his work. Another wonderful story about Kobe Bryant was that one of his teammates, he says that the coach would call a meeting at 8:30 in the morning, breakfast meeting, and we would all curse the coach and we say, we just came back last night from the match, we are tired, we want to sleep and so on. The coach wants to call his meeting at 8:30 in the morning, but anyway, the coach calls the meeting, you go to the meeting. So he said all of us would come bleary-eyed to the dining room in the hotel for the meeting, to have breakfast in the meeting, and Kobe Bryant would turn up in his kit, soaking wet from sweat, because before the 8:30 meeting, he had been on the court for 3 hours before that. So people are grumbling about coming to the 8:30 meeting. Kobe is on the court at 5:30 in the morning, and he is shooting basket after basket, and he's playing the game for 3 hours before he comes to the meeting. Expertise is repeatability. And that comes with consistent effort, not a flash in the pan. And the third thing is, we go without saying, which is structure. Without structure, there's no direction. I just now, before recording this, I wrote an article about how to become an author. Somebody asked me this question. Somebody, actually a friend of mine, tweeted and said, I don't know, last year, the whole year went past and I was hoping to be able to write a book. I hope that this year I will be able to do that. So I said, stop hoping, start writing. Stop hoping, start writing. You write a book by writing a book. You don't write a book by hoping to write a book. How do you write a book? You get up in the morning every day and you sit down and you write. It doesn't matter whether you write good or bad, you write. While that person was hoping to write a book, last year I wrote 2 books. The year before that I wrote 2 books. This year again I will write 2 books, in addition to working 70 hours a week. It's not magic. I'm not boasting. I'm giving you numbers. It's structure. Every single morning when I get up, I know what I'm going to be doing for the whole day. I have a plan. And this is what I've told you guys before as well. Right? When you wake up in the morning, what must you do? 3 things I must accomplish on that day. Every single day. There's no Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, weekend, nothing. Every single day. 3 things that I must accomplish today. Can be anything. I want to climb a mountain. I want to just go sit and look at the sun. Whatever it is. 3 things that I must accomplish that day. And that has to be related to my life goal. And then, after that, in the evening, did I achieve that? That is the secret of success. So-called secret of success is structure. Without structure, there is no direction. Water just flowing is a flood. Water flowing in a channel generates electricity. Right? How do you generate hydroelectric projects? What are they? Same water. Except that you create a dam and then you put penstock tunnels and you have turbines at the end, at the bottom. So the same water, now when you direct it through a structure, through the penstock tunnel, onto the turbine, generates electricity. Otherwise, it was just flowing. My brothers and sisters, life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You have to continuously do the right thing. And that will not happen without structure. Now, example from Islam of measurement, of persistence. In Islam, there is total accountability to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with no exceptions. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it about himself. He said, if Allah takes the hisab of somebody, they will be lost. He said, Allah will take everybody's hisab. Allah will call everyone to account. Said Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha, our mother, may Allah bless her and fill her qabr with noor and give her darajat and raise her stations. He said, Ya Rasulullah, even you? He said, even me. And he used to make dua. Allahumma hasibni hisaban yasira. Oh Allah, make my accounting easy. Total accountability. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى. Allah said, on that day of judgment, any good and any evil that you did, even if it is something as small as an atom or a small ant, or a dot or a mustard seed, or call it what you want, dharra, a particle, you will see. You will be shown that. May Allah protect us from being humiliated. Because imagine, we think we did something in secret. That's why the sins done in secret are the worst. Because we think we did that in secret, and next thing we know, may Allah protect us. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes, Allah can make it visible to the whole world. And imagine you lived your life and everybody thought you, oh mashallah, this person so pious and blah blah, this. And on the day of judgment, the whole world is watching and saying, oh my God, this was the guy. This is who he was. And now we are seeing him. May Allah save us from humiliation and from being shamed before the world and before everybody. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His protection. But remember, it's a very good thing to understand and remember that we are accountable for every single thing we say or do. No exceptions. Number two, therefore, how do we get results? Thoughtful practice. I gave you the examples of Kobe Bryant and so on and so forth. But look at it from an Islamic perspective. Even the ibadat, even our worship in Islam, is focused towards a goal. Right? Is focused towards a goal. We don't pray for the sake of praying. No. What is the goal of Salah? Inna salata tanha anil fahshahi wal munkar. The goal of Salah is to protect us and keep us safe and away from all fahushat and munkarat, all shameless things and all rebellious things. The purpose of Salah is to protect us from sin. So if you are praying and then you are going again and doing haram, then this means that you are a hypocrite. There's nothing good about that. You are a hypocrite. People say, no, at least he's praying. What? That makes no sense. What do you mean at least he's praying? If somebody is deliberately committing sin, praying and committing sin, deliberately, that prayer is invalid. That prayer has no meaning. There's a famous story of the Sahabi of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who used to come and then he disappeared. The people asked, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked people, he said, where is this person? They said, Ya Rasulullah, he is fallen into sin. He's doing different things which are not permissible. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, has he stopped praying? He said, no. He said, tell him to continue to pray. And the result was, he came back. He made istighfar and he came back to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This example is to understand the power of prayer to stop you from doing haram. It doesn't mean that it's okay to do haram and pray together. So the purpose of Salah is to protect us from sin. The purpose of Siyam, of fasting, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you become muttaqoon. Yes? Purpose. It's not so that you lose weight. It's not so that your system is cleaned. No. So that you become muttaqoon. There is a spiritual purpose to every act of worship. Zakat, purification of wealth. Hajj, purification of yourself. Right? Because that's why at the end of Hajj, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said at the end of Hajj, this person whose Hajj is accepted, he is like as if he was born that day. Completely free from sin. We ask Allah for this, inshallah. Islam is thoughtful practice. It's not mindless action. Everything has a reason. So when we are doing our ibadat, and this of course applies again to other things as well, but ibadat, we need to ask this question and say, how is my life changing because of this ibadah? And if it's not changing, then I must be concerned about that. And the third one is to understand the importance of boundaries. As I mentioned to you, boundaries give direction. The other big benefit of boundaries is that boundaries are the protection for our rights and for the rights of others. Islam, once again, is a beautiful religion because there are boundaries for everything. There's a boundary for expression of joy. There's a boundary for expression of sorrow. There's a boundary for expression of anger. There's a boundary for expression of love. You can't just do it just like that. Oh, I love so-and-so, I do something. No. You will express this love in a way which is halal and which is beneficial and which is beautiful. Ibadah itself. Every ibadah has a structure. I can't say, oh, I love Allah so much, I'm going to go dancing in the streets. No. If you love Allah so much, pray on time, the first salah. Then pray more, sunnah. And pray more, nawafil. Stand in the night and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in that prayer, I'm standing in the night, I'm praying tahajjud. I really, really love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For me, 2 sujood is not enough. I want to make 10 sujood. Salah is invalid. Why? Because the structure got violated. And what is the underlying blueprint for the whole structure? The underlying blueprint is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Boundaries ensure everybody's rights. In a marriage, the wife has rights, the husband has rights, children have rights, parents have rights, your neighbors have rights, people who work for you have rights, people you work for have rights. The animals have rights, birds have rights, plants have rights, the earth has rights. Everybody, everyone, everything has rights. Boundaries ensure all of those rights. I will not exceed a boundary because if I exceed a boundary, I am violating the right. I will not do that. That is the meaning of persistence. To stay within the boundaries because boundaries ensure and define safety. Because, my brothers and sisters, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Innamal amalu, 2 things he said. Innamal amalu bin niyat. He said the reward or the value of the deed is based on the intention. And he said, Innamal amalu bil khawatim. He said the reward and the value of the deed is based on how it ends. Because in the end, it is the end which counts. How do I end something? How do I close something? Not how do I start. I may have started well, but if I didn't close well, that thing is of no use to me. Right? I need to start well and I need to close well. Both are equally important. Right? I hope this whole session has been very beneficial for you. We'll do a quick recap of the 7 keys to success. So, a quick recap of the 7 keys to success. Number 1, connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu. Number 2, take risk. Number 3, focus on what you can control. Number 4, manage your own life. Number 5, manage change. Number 6, resolving of conflict. And number 7, maximize TRP. In this context, let us see what should I do more, what should I do less, and what should I start doing, and what should I stop doing. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with you and never to be displeased, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable you to use these in your life. My brothers and sisters, I remind you and myself, only practice, only application is beneficial. Knowing something has no value unless we apply it. Therefore, let us focus on application of what we learn. وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.